U.S. Virgin Islands, Caribbean, where Montserrat continues to smoke and choke into South America, north to the pole. This is the largest live overnight talk radio program in America. Isn't that amazing? I'm Martel, and we will do open lines tonight with one little exception. Now, last night I was feeling a little bit under the weather, so I wasn't here. You got to hear repeat. Now, as you know, I plan to do my Area 51 employee line. So we can do that. So we'll do it tonight. This should be interesting. It is your chance to sing like a bird. If you are currently employed at Area 51, the area the U.S. government says officially does not exist, or if you have been employed at Area 51 in the past and now feel ready to sing, perhaps you can call up and disguise your voice or something, I don't know. Anyway, something like that, and if you want to call up and sing, it's going to be your night to sing. It would be fun to see if we get any calls. Now, what I'm going to do is suspend my first-time caller line, which, of course, is area code 702-727-1222, and that is now officially, as of this moment, the Area 51 singing line. All right? So only if you have worked at Area 51 or you presently work at Area 51 should you call area code 702-727-1222. What else is going on in the world? Well, incredibly, not much. Because as you can see, if you watched the various network newscasts tonight, the Princess Di story continues to lead apparent interest, which to me means there's not a hell of a lot going on. In the Di story, they are now preparing to consider charging the hotel at which the driver did his apparent drinking 3 times legal limit, I guess, huh? They're going to charge the hotel. Now, only in Paris, I suppose, only in Paris would such a thing occur, or a socialized country someplace. Maybe kind of like this place these days. I mean, we are getting ready to sue gun manufacturers for the actions of those who own them, aren't we? So it's not so far out of line, even though it kind of feels that way. The Army is battling, or continues to battle, sexual harassment from a PR point of view. They're now saying that sexual harassment in the armed services crosses all lines, gender lines, rank lines, every line. It's going on all over the place. And what else is new? You ever think women ought to be in the military? I've always wondered about that. In some jobs, yes, but in large numbers, I've always thought it was a mistake. And I continue to think so. They're talking about adding another week to godforsaken basic training. I had mine down in Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio in the middle of the summer. Oh man, that was horrible. Hot. Anyway, they're talking about adding another week to those hell weeks and essentially giving people a sensitivity training week. They showed us, when I was in the Air Force, films, horrible films, depicting what could occur to one were one to contract some horrible social disease. Things that approximated the films they showed us about what would occur if there was a nuclear war. It was horrible. So now I guess we are going to get a sensitivity training week in basic training. I'm sure glad I'm in and already out. Thank you very much. Last night, you may recall, I told you we're trying to get an update from Daniel Brinkley. Let me take a quick break and see if I can get this handled, because I asked Daniel if he would like to do an update tonight. He said he would. Daniel, is this perchance you?
Hi, Arnell.
Oh, hi, Daniel. How are you doing?
Hi.
I'm so glad to hear from you. I thought, the show got started and my phone lines are ringing. You'd never make it through, and so I managed to get a line for you. That's great.
You're a great man.
Thank you. Tell if you are up to it, Daniel. Tell everybody what happened to you, when it happened, and what's happened since. What happened to you?
Well, I was dealing with a hospice patient heart, and I'm a person that has to have, I don't like to tell my whole medical life, but I have to take anticoagulants because I have a heart valve, and I have to take tests for staph infections, and I have to watch out for all these things that can kill me. And by the regulation, since the medicine I take is the anticoagulant, it's like Coumadin, which is the same basic ingredient of decon.
Rat poison.
Yeah, and I take enormous amounts of it, and if it gets slightest thing can be regulated. And in the course of running it, doing like everybody who does out in everyday life, I just don't like people dying alone. And I work so hard to try to piece that together, and I stay so driven at it. And I got my levels down low, and I called the doctor, and we stepped them up, and I did get a chance to take the test so that I can watch it on a regular thing. And it's just, I mean, I've lived with this for 8 years since the heart valve, and I've never missed it just the head, but I take care of the holidays. And I was working with I got another veteran, and he was at that place, so I had to be there. And I was tired, and then I got right back up, and I popped a blood vessel.
So what happened? What happened is you got your regimen sort of out of order.
Well, yeah, it went from the place where I go up. When we talked the last time when we were on the phone, it had just dropped to like into 12s and the 13s, which means my heart valve clogs, and I'm dead from my body coagulating the blood. And then when I got to adjust it, and as it was adjusted, it adjusted way too high, and it went to 44, which means literally passing out, and I was bleeding in my brain. And I didn't go through this except that I couldn't stand up, and I started blacking out. And I never had, it's been a long time since I've had those kinds of pains and headaches and stuff. And I called my doctor, and he said, "Look, you're at over 45. That means you're right there. Get here." And by the time I got to the emergency room, I didn't know where I was. I was drifting in that place, and then I started bleeding in my brain. And
they found 3 aneurysms, didn't they?
Yeah.
3 areas where you were.
What had happened? Two big, one, 2 small ones, and a large one. And they just started pouring blood into my brain. And the pressure started to where I lost movement on the left side. And they got me here, and they started to work on it. I mean, brain scans and all that kind of stuff. And they were looking to see, because of so much Coumadin, so much anticoagulant, that this stuff was pouring out of my brain, and that they were going to have to crack my skull open and the third of my skull and go in and try to stop them, but they couldn't do that because it would create 15 to 20 more clots when they closed that up, which would have to pass through the heart valve. And then they started looking at what would rescind and how they were going to drill holes in my skull, and then worry about how to break the clots up moving through my heart so it didn't damage the heart valve.
Well, I remember you saying when things were really rough that they wanted to drill holes in your head and they wanted to open up your chest so that when the clots passed, they would have immediate access to your heart. In other words, they'd already have you opened up.
Yeah.
And you said,
I mean, it's not like the old days when they cut your chest wide open. In the old days, they split me from my neck all the way down to my stomach, and they spread it open. It's not like 4-inch stuff. It's not like, it's tough, but science is better. I've learned a lot about medicine in 8 years. But when we finish, and so they were going to have to do that and then watch it, and you'd have to thin the blood for surgery. I can't have blood that coagulates, which would keep me alive, because that'll clog my heart valve and my heart would stop.
Right.
And that's just the place where I was.
So you told them no. You said, no, you're not going to open up my chest.
Absolutely not. Are they crazy? I figured that if I could stop the bleeding internally, if I could get inside of myself, I've done it before. I live here. We are spiritual beings, and the pain was so great, I had to get in myself. When they got me to intensive care, bitter living through chemistry is one thing, Art, but the true nature of us as a spiritual being that draws deep down inside of ourselves, alone and when it is, that we have the potential to do it. And what was so remarkable for me was that the moment people started hearing it, if I was struggling there, and I was drifting in those worlds. You know, I live in those three worlds like I write about in those my books, and I live there, and this is who I am. It's amazing even to me as I lie here and I'm looking at the ceiling, a suspended acoustical ceiling, you know, in a room in a hospital like 8 years ago. I looked at the ceiling before open heart surgery. I've been looking at this ceiling for brain surgery or heart attacks or strokes for 4 days in enormous pain, covered in a bruise, not knowing where I am, pumping these chemicals through me.
I asked you, Danny, remember I asked you, you said you were bruising, and I said, you mean you've got bruises all over? And you said, no, I am a bruise.
No, I'm a bruise. I have, it's unbelievable. I am purple. I mean, I'm a bruise because of the stuff that you go through, Art.
You got 4 IVs in you right now? 4 IVs right now. And you're on the phone. Oh, Danny, tell me, did it bring back memories, Danny, lying there looking at the ceiling again?
Art, watch out, try this one, Art. This is September. It was a thunderstorm this morning when I woke up. For the first time, I'm off the list. I'm looking at this ceiling again like I did before. September 17th at 7:05 p.m. 1975, I got struck by lightning and I woke to a thunderstorm this morning. Just a few days from now will be 22 years. 22 years ago.
Wow.
Now I've been through struck by lightning in 1975 and struck by lightning in 1978. I've been through dealing with being paralyzed and getting up over that and struggling through 2 years learning to walk and feed myself and so much madness and struggling and then trying to fulfill a vision and staying so driven. It's amazing what you see when you sit here and so driven. And then to look at how much I've been gone through, and then here I come September. And I'm almost right there again. Like they never let me get over the fact that sometimes I might try to forget that this is what's really happening to me in my life.
Did you think that you were going to live through this one, or were there moments?
They had moments. I didn't have them.
No, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about you.
No, the doctors had them. And I was hurting so bad, sometimes I didn't really care, Art. But I'm saying, we are living in the greatest times ever.
So, Daniel, the late news on you is all 3 of the aneurysms stopped bleeding. There are clots, but they're beginning to dissolve now, right?
Well, 2 of them are, and then there's one that we have to worry about.
You still can't sit up or stand up, can you?
I can't walk too far.
No.
You know, and they pump so much blood through me, and they're trying to balance the chemistry in me, because if they don't balance the chemistry, then something can happen, and the clot can move, and the clot moves, and it all starts again. And the pain was always in my head, but here was the key. I was laying in that intensive care, and people dying around me. I'm thinking of who I am again. Here I am, not the guy that's the hospice volunteer.
But
Not the guy that's the hospice volunteer, the guy that's out talking and lecturing. I'm the guy that I'm out there for.
Yeah.
I'm him, and I'm looking at an acoustical ceiling.
Well, you were in there with a lot of people at first, and I remember you said you had to get out of there because I'm just laying it out for the audience. I remember you telling me there were people dying all around me, and I couldn't concentrate.
Well, it's amazing what's happening to me as I begin to be the perceptions about things. But in my life, I always deal with my stuff inside because I heal from the inside out. Like everybody, we're spiritual.
So you heal yourself, and under those conditions, I take it you couldn't do that.
They got me there. My head's splitting open. I can't hardly think. I can't think. I can't put myself in an order. I just have to try to get away from the pain and determine what's wrong with me. And then the emergency room wasn't so bad. There were just a couple of things. But they moved me to intensive care right in front of the ward because I'm in really bad trouble. Mm-hmm. And so a little 20-year-old girl with asthma. Her lungs were collapsed. They ventilated there, popping her open. A lady with cancer is right next to her. There was one hollering and they're rushing in and out. And I can't get inside because I'm feeling those emotions and I'm picking up all those psychologies that my mind normally picks up because I deal with hospice and these kinds of situations. It's happening to me too.
So you had to get inward in all that noise and all of those feelings that you were absorbing around you.
All those sounds that people make when they're thinking without knowing we are spiritual. This is what I gain the most out of it, Art. In this world of where medicine is, it's better living through chemistry because chemistry's helped me. It's helped me right here. I've seen it again, how terrified people are because they forget how spiritual we are, how interconnected that we are, how truly loving and close every single one of us are. And all I know is I didn't know you went on the air and told people to have to think about me and to send me love and to send prayers or thoughts or whatever that they would want to do. But I felt it.
I did, Daniel, because I believe in the power of prayer.
Listen to me. If you were lying right now, if you were trying to tell me that you did not do it, I would know you were a liar. Because through that phone and through this place, all of a sudden, I began to be bathed in a love of energy that could only be somebody loving me, not somebody concerned with my health, but somebody loving me to take the time from a moment from their job or from what they were doing, and I'm in here hurting, and to think about whoever they knew about me or whatever they knew about me, to care about me. The room filled with a blue hue, and I'm not on drugs or anything. I live in this world, and I see it, and I'm bathed in it, and I'm watching it, and I see myself starting to break and come out of it, where I say, no surgery, we're not going to do it, let me fight it, let me fight it, let me fight it, and I would do things I listen to music 8 hours a day. I put on Stephen Halpern and the healing tapes and guided imagery tapes, and I stayed deep inside myself. And I kept pulling that love.
You know, I talked to your cousin who took you to the hospital. He said you began that process. He said, as a matter of fact, Daniel hardly said 2 words to me all the way to the hospital. He started
2-hour drive.
He started going into himself at that point before you even got to the doctor. Is that right?
Yeah, but to see Art, I didn't know he told you that. But Art, in the way that I've learned through 22 years of near-death experiences, the way that I've learned and I've looked at the vision that I had, I never ever put it into the true context that everybody else was out there just like me, and that we're close together, and the people who listen to this radio show and the whole world together, we have a connection to each other that somewhere exists within the framework of our mental and physical dynamic. It is a spiritual dynamic, and it's there because I go inside where I know where this spiritual place is. I built the center for why I have it down in, why I built the centers, why I write the books, why I work on it. That's why I did it.
All right, I want to talk to you about the spiritual side. We're spiritual beings inside physical bodies. Daniel, hold on. We're at the bottom of the hour. Can you hold tight?
Sure, I'll thanks,
All right, hang tight. We'll be right back. From the high desert, this is Coast to Coast AM. I'm Art Bell. With us from his hospital room, Daniel Brinkley. Right now to an unidentified area in the south where Daniel Brinkley is sitting in a hospital room. Not exactly an unknown thing for Daniel. How you doing, Daniel? Still there?
Doing pretty good, Art. I'd like to tell everybody else that this is really good therapy for me.
Being on the air?
Well, I've been on this bed a long time. I've been through a lot of stuff, like learning about what other people are still going back through, and thinking about how much they have helped me, and how much the whole point of what we're all about as friends and part of people, and what the Art Bell Show is about, and the people of the night, is that we love each other and we care about each other. And they can send love to me, and that I can lay in this room and I can feel it now. I can lay in this room covered in bruises, coming out of it, and I can feel that love now. And when people were sending me all that love, Art, people like Larry Dawsey, who wrote the book on prayer, I was able to listen because I read and think about prayer, to take those prayers and that love and those thoughts that were being sent to me and convert it to me as a useful product.
Can I ask you a question about prayer, Danny?
Sure.
I wonder about prayer a lot. There is no question in my mind. Prayer works for yourself, for others. Prayer works, but I'm not sure why. And it's funny, Daniel, when you were at the war, CNN was running a thing about prayer, the power of prayer, and they had a doctor on, and he said, 70% somewhere in there of people who take placebos will declare there to be an improvement in whatever condition they took them for.
45% have a true and lasting result.
That's exactly right. He said, so I don't know if it's God, but I know it works. This was a doctor.
Listen, Art, that's not God. That's the divine might and power and the spirit within each of us as spiritual beings within this physical body. The moment I got in this hospital, Art, no matter how dying I am, no matter how hurt much it hurts, and I can't think and I can't see, I get a full spectrum of enzyme. I make sure that the people close to me have me enough of trace minerals that I can take in small supplement. I get celery, I get pears, I get prunes, and I'll get one or two other things like a fruit, a papaya that has a strong, a lot of taba in it. That's how I eat and I drink water. When you come to a hospital where everybody eats the same meals, they do the same stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing that. This is a place that should be hallowed and a place to come to heal and a sanctuary, and it's just better living through chemistry and maintenance.
So you've got people slipping food in for you.
Well, I bring my stuff with me.
That's what I mean.
In the bag. I've been here before, and I know what this body must have certain things in it full. It must have its trace minerals. It must have this, and nutrition is not a part of medicine.
Or listening to the best of Art Bell.
And the people and I, controversially have interviews with Art Bell.
What do your doctors say? I mean, here you refused a lot of the treatment. They said, I mean, what do they say? How are they accounting for the way you're healing?
My cardiologist, which has been with me 8 years, who's an Army doctor who's really cool, he leaves me alone because he told me, he said, you should have been dead years ago. He leaves me alone because he knows I can go inward. Because once you've been dead, Art, and you don't die, and this is all about what prayer is, and you don't die, then what do you do and what lives on? We have energy fields of bodies around us, and I swear this to everybody listening. This is not a story. This is what we really have. The energy fields around us, and by being gone to being dead, I've seen them. When you're in trouble in your physical self, you have to work in those energy fields. You must get to those energy fields to work.
How do you do that?
Well, we do it through the foods the supplements that you're just talking about. Really taking a good look at your spiritual self. Finding practical spirituality and practice and things like meditating. I'm listening to music 8 hours a day. Intersecting music with my earplug. I never not take my earplugs out, and I bear the pain, and I focus in my body to heal. I change my blood pressure in here. If I need the blood pressure to certain places, nurses, they act funny, and then my cardiologist he's just been with me for so long, and he knows that I use alternatives, and I use compatible medicines, and I use energy medicines and qigong.
Does he agree with you? I mean, does he understand? He's seen it enough so he knows it works now, and he doesn't shake his finger at you.
All of them do that, but I'm still here. What are you supposed to say?
Yeah.
I'm here. And, better living through chemistries where medicine is today. I've learned this. They are dealing with bicarbs. They're dealing with blood gases. They're dealing with tumors. Doctors, and I have 2 really good ones, the neurosurgeon and the neurologist and the cardiologist, all 3 of them, because it's so complicated. They're chemists. We must put the art of healing back into this system. This is what's missing from it, and prayer comes into play. Prayer works Prayer is not some religious point factor.
Yeah, this doctor on CNN, Daniel, what he said was the key word seems to be faith, whether it's faith in a placebo or faith in God or faith in your spiritual self, whatever it is, the key word he said is faith. If you have faith, you can cure yourself.
He's wrong.
How would you say?
The love of yourself. In order for those people are on your show, and everybody from the bottom of my heart, from my soul, every moment that you took from your jobs that you placed and you thought about me, I felt it.
So it's as real as anything in the world. It's not a placebo, it's real.
It's more real than anything in this world. It's not faith, it's love. The love of ourselves and the love of someone else to give to someone else. Faith, having faith is a belief system in something. I do not have to believe. I do not have to have faith. This night, as I lay in this room, knowing I'm going to get up and I'm going to make it again, and I'm going to come back caring more and loving more about people and helping more in people facing these issues, that I am now one of them again looking at the ceiling. When you go before surgery and you're looking at the ceiling of a hospital, what you're looking at is an acoustical ceiling. So that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's your life. I mean, all you're seeing is the ceiling.
Well, I haven't looked at one of these in a long time, Mark. I'm looking at one.
Yeah, I remember, I think I told you that in 30 days on my back because of my back. And I learned every little tiny, I used to take big lighters, Daniel, and lay on my back. That was my only exercise. I'd throw a big lighter up and see if I could just knock one of those little curly things off. You just start doing dumb stuff like that. You're right, you go inside yourself.
See, we have people lying in his place. This is a stroke ward is where I'm on now.
Mm-hmm.
We have people lying in a stroke ward, waiting to have surgery.
Or a stroke.
And they don't have a spiritual place. They don't have it. They don't have a place where we've included within the framework of the new ways of medicine and what's going on. That spiritual place. That's what I've learned, because I'm out here not afraid. I just hurt. And I'm not afraid. Doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm staying inward. I'm trained and I'm looking. I'm watching. No one's ever taught it to them. And you can bet that the love that was sent to me came to people around me. I watched the nurses who came into this room. I watched the people and how they've reacted because they see and feel the kind of love that's in here. Love works. Power works. We are spiritual beings. We have the ability to change and alter so much stuff. And I never thought I'd ever see the day that I would want to stay here on this side as opposed to return to the other side. But I'll tell you something. I wouldn't miss the next 5 or 6 years on what's going to happen in the quickening and in the things for anything. But we have to look at, if we were able to do this for one another, like you've done for me, and that spiritual place that we are, that now everybody, because you're listening to me tell you this, the spiritual place that we are, we have the power to change many things if we took something just one day to day. We all as artnauts, like astronauts, is what I call us, and we cared and loved something, focused on something.
You really think that massive spiritual intervention can stop what might be coming otherwise?
As much as I hate to admit this for the first time in my life, Armel, I have to say yes. I would have never, no one could have gotten me. I have felt, seeing in my own self, as just a guy lying here where two out of every three out of every 5 men in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer. 1 out of every 3 women will have breast cancer. I've been reading the statistics as I lie here and face myself.
Yeah, I know.
This is everybody I know. And within the context of this healing institution, this chemistry place I'm in, to be able to put love back in here. And I see the importance of my hospice, but I see the importance of putting a practice of spirituality and understanding the near-death experience and the dynamics of our energy bodies how those energy bodies are to be touched and to be cared about. There's nothing to do with faith. We are powerful and mighty interconnected spiritual beings. We have greatness, we have destiny, and damn it, we have purpose. And we are connected, and I don't care what chemists say and scientists say, because I'm coming out of it.
I've got a question for you, Daniel.
What?
I've got a question for you. Remember when you were struck by lightning?
Lord, I just forgot that one out.
Yeah, no, all right. No, let me finish the sentence. When you were struck by lightning, you acquired a lot of psychic ability, really more than you wanted. You were hearing people and things crashing around you mentally, hearing people's thoughts. And then you told me in the last interview we did that began to slowly fade over the years. And what I'm wondering is, and the reason I'm asking this is because the other day you said it came suddenly rushing back with what just happened to you over the last week or so. Is that right? It came rushing back?
Something's happening to me, Art. I mean, it's not like being struck by lightning and the dramatics of what happened in Cairo, medicine and the lightning shaman story. But never, I was struck by lightning, that changed me. I was, to trauma, open heart surgery.
Yeah.
I was close to that place again, but it was the love of people that felt like I had done something that contributed to their lives. That is the most amazing thing to me in my existence, that the kind of love that I have felt strengthened and opened up to this trauma, like everybody thinks happening trauma. It opens up a whole different spiritual way for me to look at myself.
Maybe your brain starts doing something a little differently when it's facing the ultimate trauma, huh?
Art, I've been through all that brain stuff, telling stories with lightning. We are spiritual beings. What has occurred? So I'm watching myself change. I'm moving into a different level of how I perceive. I am perceiving more things, but it's of a different level. I can't say, hey, Art, I understand it right now. I can understand reading people's minds. I do this without any problem. It's child's play. I'm looking at more dimensions of stuff that I don't really understand, that they exist in there, and how wonderful it is. We must, as an Art Bell show, we must pick our subjects, plan our times. We must send our love and our power and our strength to surround and protect it and help it grow. And we must plan it, and we must do this, because I've never seen the outpouring of love that I've ever felt in my life from people saying thank you, Daniel, for something you've done to help me. And that one single part of it is the greatest transformation in me, but it's opening up whole dimensions of me. But if it's for me, we can do it for each other.
I think you're right.
We can do it for each other. So, Art, don't listen to just this one night. Let your mind flow. And realize that there's a great and wondrous spiritual world that we are all an integrated part of. We are interconnected in divinity.
Well, you've got to be right, Daniel, because if you're
lying in this damn hospital bed, Art, with my brain stopped bleeding, I'm going to get up. I'm waiting for the blood clot to pass my heart so I don't slur my speech or make me stumble around. I have to get back up and start again in life, but with a deeper sense of commitment, a more devoted brotherhood to the people that listen to me, that I've helped in their lives, and that they return that love to me, and that it is changing me. And millions of people, there were hundreds of thousands of responses everywhere, Art. It didn't 10 people. They packed him in everywhere.
One more thing, when you get back up, it'll be with a slower schedule, Daniel.
Yes, Master.
A slower schedule.
Within, I can see how I can do it. So the other thing, Art, thanks for letting me talk, everybody, and thanks for just letting me do something other than this roof, because we must, without any question, take our practical spirituality, reincorporate it back, put it in the healthcare system. I know that Medicaid and Medicare was destroying it. It had to go somewhere. Money for health for profit has to be something good because it's America. But these people are scared. They're lying with strokes and their families are in the halls. They are scared because they don't have the kind of love that you people send to me to this night. And then I know from being what I've been through, just that we are powerful spiritual beings. I know where to go and what to do with that because I've been having to deal with it for 22 years to stay alive. And they need us. We need to talk about it and educate and, you know, when I heard into politics, you let me get on the air and I finally get to talk to somebody in the Access to Medical Treatment Act.
I know that means a lot to you.
It has got to be, from this stand, from where I'm looking at now, it has got to be one of the single most important pieces of legislation that we in our spiritual health body, we don't get access to medical treatment in alternative and compatible ways, which could be just have added to this program here with me, aromatherapy, color therapy, kinds of things that I have in this room. They make fun of all the crystals and everything I've got piled up in this room. And I take them to my chest, and I have this headset on all day long, and they come in and see my charts and see what I'm looking at, and they shake their head, but I'm still here.
Well, who cares what they think, Daniel?
Oh, I care because I want them to change.
Well, that's true from
They're
that point of
great
view.
doctors.
But I mean, right now, whatever saves your life is whatever saves your life. So
They're great chemists, but they're not doctors. But we have to put that back in here. We have to.
all right, you're gonna, with luck, Daniel, maybe you're out of there. What, in a week?
Yeah. If the blood, if they can watch the clots. But I'm out of here now. I'm out of here now. Getting to talk to everybody and tell them how much I thank you, and getting to talk to Art Bell and let him be the person that tells the world that it isn't safe what placebo does. It's loving of ourselves and loving someone else, and that love changes and opens up us all, and we have proven it. We can keep proving it and keep doing it.
All right, my friend, listen, we gotta go, but Daniel, get better, and when you are, come see me.
I shall, and Art and everybody who's been there for me made me feel better tonight than I've felt in 8 days, and I love you very much, and I thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Daniel. Good night. This one's for you. I see them blue, and I think to myself, what a wonderful
You're hearing Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. International callers may recharge in the Kingdom of Nine by first dialing their access number to the USA. Then 1-800-893-0903. 1-800-893-0903. And you may thank Art by calling area code 702-727-8499. That's area code 702-727-8499. Please limit access to one or two pages. Now again, here is Art Bell.
Yes, I am here. Top of the morning, everybody. We spent the last hour incredibly with Daniel Brinkley in a hospital room with 4 IVs circulating. He's not out of the woods yet. He is facing the possibility of any one of these clots passing through his heart and stopping it cold. But You've been praying for him for the last week, and obviously, from where he was, he has come a long way. And I don't think there could be any better update than for you to hear from him yourself. And I'm not sure, but this may be the first time there's ever been an interview like that from a hospital bed. Pretty remarkable stuff. All right, we to do now. I got diverted there for about an hour, but we are going to do an Area 51 line. Now, listen to me very closely because I know a lot of you don't listen. So listen to me. Attention, everybody. What is normally my first-time caller line is now going to be an Area 51 employee singing line. You know that place that doesn't exist? I was telling somebody who happens to be in the studio with me right now, earlier tonight, that there is a VFW here in Pahrump, Nevada. And if you go up to that VFW about 4:30 in the morning, there will be a number of buses, unless, because I've talked about it, they've now changed it. I doubt it. I bet they're still there. Every morning about 4:30, 5 o'clock or so, and they're sitting there waiting for all these employees to go to Area 51. The funny thing is, right on the side of the buses, it says Area 51. It actually says Area 51. And one of these days, I'm going to go up there with a camera, and I'm going to take some pictures of those buses for you, and I'll put it up on the net. So anyway, we're going to be looking for people who either retired from Area 51 and can now talk, or people who presently work at Area 51 and wish to tell us what's going on up there, because we all have deep suspicions about what's happening there. So I'm just going to sort of open a line and see what happens. Now, we may not get any calls. I have no way of knowing. You know, when I open these lines, I have no way of knowing. It is, however, ringing. Now, whether it's ringing from somebody who actually was at Area 51, or it's ringing because somebody isn't listening to me right now saying, don't call that line, I have no way of knowing, but we will find out shortly. Okay. Dare I venture forth to my Area 51 line? Sure I do. Let's see what we get. On my Area 51 line, you are on the air. Good evening.
Hello, Mr. Bell.
Hello there.
So good to hear you.
It's good to hear you too. Are you going to tell us from where you are calling, or would you rather keep that secret?
I cannot tell you.
Okay, well that makes sense.
But I can tell you who you can call in. That is actually my first name.
What is your first name?
Yes, you can call me Steve.
Steve.
Yeah.
Figures.
Oh, by the way, I was not the guy who sent all the faxes out the suitcase boxes.
Okay.
I was not that guy.
Not that Steve.
No.
All right. All right. Did you work, or do you work at Area 51?
I did, but more so to the point, I actually lived there for a time.
You lived there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I guess that makes sense in a way. That a lot of people who live there either commute from Las Vegas or my little town of Pahrump, or they actually reside there, which I bet they love, because then you can't go talk to people.
Well, actually, when you say Area 51, do you mean only Groom Lake
Oh no.
or Papoose?
Oh no. I mean S4. I mean any of the interesting areas up there.
S4.
You worked at S4?
So that's the area where I was living.
Oh my. Now S4 is where it is said they had the goodies.
Oh, yes. Yes, I haven't been ordered to discuss that.
I beg your pardon?
I've been ordered to discuss S4 tonight.
You've been ordered to discuss it?
Yes, they were aware of your show, and we knew it wasn't going to be on last night, so I just went to bed.
Oh my. Well, you know Bob Lazar, who lives in Las Vegas.
Very interesting man.
Yes, indeed. I've interviewed Bob Lazar. And he claims that there have been any number of saucers, actual saucers, recovered saucers, back engineered, that he was part of that, and that they were flown out of S4. Can you confirm his story, for starters?
Yes, it happened. Before he was even there, at some point. There was occasion, but they were not meant to be flown in the air. That what you're seeing in the air is not coming from Area 51.
It is.
No. I mean, like UFOs and all that. None of that's coming from Area 51. Those things out there are broken. And the one that he saw sitting there
probably were in various states of disrepair, in my opinion.
Really?
Yes, they were like, where you have junk. Everybody's got junk. But if you've got junk like that, you're not going to take it to landfill. Makes sense, right?
No, you're not.
So you've got to just kind of leave it sitting.
When you say junk, we should qualify that. Extraterrestrial junk?
What would you call extraterrestrial?
Something not of Earth origin?
Would Earth in a parallel timeline do?
You bet it would.
Would that qualify as extraterrestrial?
You're damn right. In my mind, it would. In other words, it certainly is in the realm of the paranormal. So what you're telling me is that what's up there came not from another physical place, but another dimension parallel to ours.
Yeah, yes and no. It's both. The triangular objects were hand-me-downs that were no longer needed, and they were given to the people in the other timeline, who then turned against the people that originally gave them to.
You're saying you were ordered to come and say all this tonight?
Yes.
Why?
Because it is, yesterday was September 11th. It is September 11th on your time. Yes.
It is still now September 11th, my time, yes.
It is the day that the Mars Surveyor enters the orbital phase of its mission.
You're exactly right. They have fired the slowing rockets, and I understand they have done that successfully, they believe. And this craft will go into a polar orbit around Mars, slowly mapping the entire planet.
It will be finished in March of the year 1998.
Uh-huh.
And
what do you think they'll find?
I already know what they're going to find.
Well, then that makes you a doubly valuable person. What? Pray tell.
Okay. As they come down from the pole, at first they're going to be mapping an area that originally had a lot of water. So what would you see if you drain the ocean? A lot of dried up area.
Silt, that kind of thing.
But it's all solid rock, obviously, baked by the sun and all that. When you get down to latitude about 40 degrees north of the Martian equator, you're going to see some pretty interesting things.
Like what?
The Cydonia region.
Yeah.
The Cydonia region has a counterpart region, and they're going to find that.
Really?
Yes.
Now, when you speak of Cydonia, you speak of on Mars and
The city and the rail launcher.
all that stuff.
Yeah, the rail launcher is most interesting to me.
How? A rail launcher?
The rail launcher.
That's a gun.
No. The rail launcher is a shell-type vehicle that was abandoned, and it's sitting on this rail inside a fortress.
A fortress.
A fortress.
This is a lot of the kind of stuff that David Oates talked about.
Oh,
When he
yeah.
reversed the speech of the NASA guys.
Oh, yes.
So you're saying all of that is true?
Yes, but they remember all that comes from what they were thinking subconsciously, more or less. And it could get jumbled together. I'm not very familiar with that. I just heard it in passing at the time. But I don't recall that exactly.
Why would your bosses want this information out?
Because of what's about to happen next year.
What pray tell?
There's going to be some, how should we say, major, extreme revelations next year. And everything's got to be in place for that happens. And while pressure is building, by pressure I mean orders, to throw it all out on the table right now. And I'm one that don't think it's appropriate for this.
You personally don't.
No, I mean all of it right now. I'm all for the 98 thing.
So you're sort of dribbling information out to get people prepared.
Yes, but my greatest concern is they won't be prepared enough. And I'm troubled by what's happening.
You want to lay out your cards? I mean, what's going to happen?
You mean 1998?
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, the same more dribbling as you call it for starters. But then, of course, you mean the main material.
Main event, yes, sir.
Ultimate.
You bet.
Well, now that would take place on, what date would that be? I got a book over here. It's got it all laid out. Don't mind me getting it here.
I don't mind a bit. You go right ahead.
Just a second.
All right. We're talking to a current Area 51 employee, he says. And there's a book that lays out what's going to occur. And he's talking about 1998.
Okay.
All right. And then in 1998, you said you've got a date. Here the page is turning.
Yep, got it. July 20th, 1998.
Oh, Richard Hoagland's going to like that. July 20th.
Richard Hoagland.
Yeah. That's an important date with Richard.
Oh, I remember now. Yes, it was. But I'm not sure that he knows about what really happened in 1986. I wonder if he could call in and we could ask him if he knows what happened on that date in 1986. That's
Well,
part of the main.
All right, but right now I want to know what's going to happen on July 20th, 1998. So does everybody.
Okay, right on. In 1998, on that day, everything is going to be revealed about what happened on July 20th, 1986 to July 26th, 1986, and how that relates to what is going on right now with the Mars material.
All right, then, if we must, let us back up. July of 1986. What occurred then, please?
The culmination of the original plan, and we are currently in the 12th year of the new plan now.
What plan?
What plan?
Whose plan?
Whose plan? The Supreme Commandant.
The Supreme Commandant?
Sound familiar?
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
The Supreme Commandant.
That should be ringing some bells. No pun intended.
Thank you.
This is September the 11th. Okay. Anyway, the point is that, do you recall any certain caller who might have called you on the Saturday morning, August 9th, during the night where you had the so-called MIB line?
Yes, I remember the MIB line, certainly. And as a matter of fact, during the course of this very conversation we're having right now, I'm wondering why the men in black aren't moving in on you.
Oh, they can't.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That sounds to me like the soldier in the foxhole says, everybody around me might die, but I'm not.
Oh, I've been in a few foxholes myself, I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, it's that kind of psychology. What do you mean they can't get to you?
Because I tell them what to do.
You're that high in the food chain.
Well, unfortunately, it is a food chain, yes. Unfortunately for me, I occasionally learn the hard way. Since I did call you on that morning. I don't know if you recall or not.
Listen, these beings, are they as we are, or are they different? Do they look to be extraterrestrial in origin, even though they're
I mean, in Area 51 or in general, or both.
well, you said they're extra-dimensional, not extraterrestrial. So do they appear to be extraterrestrial, or do they appear exactly as we do in form?
Okay, this is hard to explain, but there's two levels. One level is, if you knew what to look for, yeah, you can tell the difference easily. But if you say, well, no, so-and-so just passed me, you never know.
So they could be wandering around in our streets now, ETs, and I see.
Well, a few more than they used to be. There's about...
How about if I call them EDs? Extra-dimensionals.
Yeah, but see, if you could reel one of them, let's say you had a best-case scenario, you had them hypnotized, sodium pentothal, reverse speech, everything. And you got everything out of that.
Yeah.
You would never find out who was giving them the orders. It's not me, by the way. Because they're getting programmed from a planet in this timeline in space.
Why are you revealing all of this now?
Because of the amount of material that's going to be revealed next year would be unintelligible unless this was here.
Lay it out first.
Right. In other words, I could talk for 10 hours and we would have shit at the edge of the iceberg. That's just an example.
What is the purpose then of Area 51?
Now it's got different.
I'm sorry, S4 or whatever you want to call it. In other words, what is the main?
Chief reason.
Yeah.
Now or in the past or both?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
In the beginning, it was simply to develop new weapons. America needed new weapons to counter the Soviet threat.
Right.
The reason, you ready? You holding on to your from a planet called Lanulos.
Lanulos.
I think you heard that before. They came here after World War II. They told the Soviets, better look out, Americans are coming after you. Then they come to the Americans and tell them, better look out, the Soviets are coming after you. Then they go to the Soviets and tell them, here's the kind of missiles you're going to need. And then they go to the Americans and say, you better get ready, here they come, here are the kind of missiles you're going to need. We'll give you the advice on what to build with your own technology.
Sounds like they were promoting the idea of war.
Oh, they knew the outcome. You know, you can use some primitive computer projections now to get some idea of something. And they use computer projections of an event kind to determine the best possible outcome. And that they control the situation where you have a standoff. They needed desperately to have a Cold War standoff for 40 years. That was the plan.
Why?
To duplicate the precise same event that happened 3 times 19.5 centuries earlier on Atlantis.
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 Atlantis that was destroyed because there was no intervention, or what?
Oh, no, there could not be any intervention then. Because there was no one in space. No one had traveled. Oh, yes, this would be an appropriate time to explain something. No, there is no intelligent life that evolved anywhere in the universe except on Earth.
I've thought that myself, and even wondered about this one.
Yeah, right, me too. Especially in the last 50 years. In a parallel universe, ditto. In other words, for every parallel dimension for a timeline, you have only Earth evolving intelligent life.
All right, listen, I have only about a minute left, so quickly sum up or say whatever you would like to say to everybody out there about where you were.
Area 51's main purpose is to basically build weapons, but it was taken over in 1986. It was taken over by the people from Lanulos. And when they took it over, that's when I came in there. I was put in there to supervise what was going on in that lower level.
All right, well, I have no way of knowing whether one word of what you have said is true, but you said it well.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome, and you take care. There's our first Area 51 caller. The planet Lanulos, or whatever it was. What do you think? They're in charge since 86. Reagan said a bunch of stuff about that, remember? Right here at the bottom of the hour. We'll be right back from the high desert. This is Coast to Coast AM. I'm Art Bell.
If you've missed any part of tonight's program and you'd like to have a copy on tape, dial toll free 1-800-917-4278. That number is 1-800-917-4278.
From the kingdom of God, Coast to Coast AM continues with Art Bell.
All right. Well, I said no future employees of Area 51, but this guy tripped me up. He's on the line now, and I can tell you're like in a vehicle of some kind.
Yes, I'm driving the truck right now because I'm making a historical study of life in the 20th century, and no better way to study it than getting out there and seeing it and experiencing it.
So you're sort of slumming in the 20th, huh?
There you go. Actually, I'm from the 21st century, or the 21st century, the year 2072, and I worked at Area 51, or I guess you would say I will work at Area 51, which at that time is the nation's capital. There's a series of catastrophes that will occur, and I don't want to create a paradox by saying too much,
but some events occur around the turn of the century in the eastern part of the country. Things happen where the government of the United States has to relocate.
Now, bear in mind that you're on the air right now in Washington, D.C. at WWRC. I mean, they're all listening to you, so
Yeah, that's why I have to be very careful.
please be very careful, yes. So you're saying around the turn of the century, around 2000, something is going to happen.
Yeah, I don't want to get into any more than that, but I worked as an aide for the office of the president at Area 51. And in that time, in 2072, the reason Area 51 was picked to be the capital of the United States, and for that matter, basically a one world government is set up with the United States leading that effort.
Oh, good.
There is, by that time, there will be no question of life throughout the universe. In fact, there will be several races of aliens living with us. I can't get into much more detail than that. But
let me ask you a question. How far can you go? We all know what a paradox is. You know, going back and killing your father, if time travel were possible, would suddenly negate you, at least in one timeline. How far can you go in telling us things without creating a paradox, something that will shift what otherwise would occur in the timeline?
Well, I can't actually alter events. For example, if I come back now and I know if I invest in a certain thing in the stock market and become a huge multimillionaire,
yes,
when that individual who I am now didn't, according to my current history,
you would have changed things radically.
Right, and so I have to be very careful. Now, speaking in general terms, like I'm doing to you over the air.
So then we can safely assume Bill Gates is not a time traveler.
Bill Gates is not a time traveler.
Okay.
Bill Gates is Bill Gates, and
got his money honestly in this timeline.
Yeah, he honestly got it in this timeline. So there's some interesting things about Bill Gates. Without going into detail, expect Bill Gates to enter politics before too long.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I figured it would.
Now, is that something that could potentially? I mean, you must be on the gray line there regarding a paradox.
Well, I am, but here's the beauty of it. When I'm on the phone with you talking, it's subjective. It's people's opinion. So what I really say is real subjective. Some people might believe it, some people won't. So I'm fairly safe in making general statements like that because probably a lot of people aren't going to believe it anyway.
That's right. And so let me ask you this. Is there something minor but very specific that you can give us that's going to happen in the near-term future that we can watch for and say, aha, the guy from 2072 called it?
Yeah, we're going to have probably about March of this coming winter,
yes,
Southern California and Arizona are going to suffer severe flooding as a result of the El Nino that's building. And in the winter of 1990, there's going to be a major devastating earthquake in Southern California.
Wait a minute, that was the winter of 99?
The winter of 1999.
How big will it be, do you know?
From the history books I've read, it was about an 8.9 on the Richter scale.
My.
But I'm not, I can't give out numbers because we really don't know. There was just estimate numbers of deaths and injuries.
Did you get here using a physical time machine, or did you come through some sort of wormhole?
Well,
in other words, why did you come to this time and why?
Okay, there are things around the planet that people now are calling vortexes or vortices, such as in Sedona and places in California. By the year 2055, there's been a major breakthrough explaining these forces, and mankind has learned how to use them for time travel, both going forward and going past.
Well, now that is very interesting because I interviewed a very well-respected physicist named Michio Kaku not long ago who said that is exactly the way we would learn to travel in time.
Yes, and it worked out very well. And you don't have to have the equipment at your destination Now, when I left in 2072, there's equipment set up at these vortices in Sedona and other places around the world. Now, when I go through that and come to this time, I just pop out in the middle of the desert in the case of Sedona.
I've always wondered about that. How are you able to be sure that you don't pop here inside a mountain or a building or concrete or something awful like that?
Well, because we can go back to maps of the 20th century, actually even earlier than that. We've got them archived on computer disks. And we know exactly where we can and cannot pop out.
So at least I know we still use computers, huh?
We do use computers, so it'll blow your mind the media that we'll be using at that time.
No, it wouldn't blow my mind at all. You buy a computer today and it's out of date now in about 3 or 4 months.
All I can say is virtual reality is only the beginning.
So it's going to be an interesting time, and there's going to be a gigantic event around the turn of the century, a serious event.
Yeah, the turn of the century is going to be rough, but mankind makes it through it. We do have some assistance from, how shall I say, elsewhere.
Elsewhere, others?
Yes. And after that event, things like racism, those kind of issues will no longer be around, because not only will we have to learn to live with people of different color, we're going to have to learn to live with beings who are not human. And this event, these series of events that occur around the turn of the century, is kind of a purging or a cleansing event. And the people that through that become a better species of people.
Are you going to stay and go through this period with us, or when things get rough, are you going to get going?
I got to be honest with you, Art. I'm out of here. I'm going to be a chicken and run. I'm not going to stay and go through that with you.
Would it be possible for somebody like myself, for example, who wants to avoid what's coming, to get a ticket to ride, so to speak, with you?
No, because there again, then you come up with a paradox issue.
Paradox.
You have a certain destiny you're meant to fulfill, and if you leave prematurely, that creates a paradox.
I understand.
But there are certain people that can leave.
Let me see if I can ask this.
Okay.
Do you know offhand whether I make it?
I can't answer that, because that might alter
Paradox.
the way you live your life.
I've got it. All right. Well, you've been a very, very interesting caller, and I hope you will call again.
I will do so.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care. There is a future Area 51 employer, present employee, present time traveler. All right. He sounded pretty good, huh? I've got to give him a good 7 or 8. Better on a scale of 10. What do you think? East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning. Hello there.
Yes, hello.
Turn your radio off, please. That's the first thing you got to do when you get on the air.
I got it.
All right, good. Where are you?
Boynton Beach, Florida.
Okay. Glad to have you.
Yes, sir?
It is.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was just listening. I just got on my computer and I'm listening to your show right now through the computer.
Okay.
And you guys are talking about Area 51. I grew up in Morocco. I don't know if you ever heard of Morocco, North Africa. And I spent 16 years over there with my parents.
I'm going to North Africa next month.
Egypt.
Yeah.
Right. I saw that on your webpage. But anyway, there's a place called Kenitra, which was a United States U.S. Navy base. And at the time, from 1961 until 1970, it was a United States Navy base. But after that, because Congress discovered that the space was there, they decided to shut it down. And the United States government never did. They kept it going, and basically what they did is just turn it over to the Royal Air Force. But the base in Kenitra had a bunch of satellite dishes, and I'm talking like, if you saw the movie Contact.
I did. God, I love that movie.
You're talking about dishes that were lined up. Probably, I would probably say about 30 dishes. That's in Morocco, Kenitra.
Well, when you do that, what you saw in Contact was accurate. In other words, you can put up a field of dishes, and each one gives you about a 3 dB gain and it creates a narrower beam width. So you can listen to more distant, weaker signals. That's how it works. And Contact was accurate in that regard.
Okay. And but not only was there 30 dishes in Kenitra, there's another town which is like a little village, and it was probably about 60 miles away from Kenitra. Kenitra is north of Rabat, Morocco. It's called City Yaya, and they had another 30 dishes there. Now, why would the United States government or the United States Navy have all these dishes? They did at one point. My father was telling me back in 1970 during the Apollo missions that these dishes